This is PW Farrell's Bass Lessons pedal review. This is what I do now. I say words and words go on the screen. I'm a hip postmodern vlogger now. Enjoy the review. Hey, welcome to PW Farrell's Bass Lessons. Today what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to review the pedals that I use in my pedal board. These are pedals that, of all the stuff I've bought over the years, I've settled on these ones. There's probably, if I think about it, there's two pedals in my board that I'm going to switch out maybe. But I'm going to show you my favorite pedals, okay? And I'm going to go through it. I'm going to film it all in this one sitting, but I might cut the video up so that the videos become product specific. Okay, this next pedal I want to show you is a permanent feature of mine on my pedal board. I just love it. It's such a part of my voice. It's the TC Electronic Sub and Up. Okay, so our loop is now going through our pedal. And we're going straight into the sub and up with no parameters turned up. So we're going to have complete silence. Okay? The four knobs we're working with are very, like the bottom sub octave. Obviously, on bass, almost inaudible, right? I'm sure a creative spirit could find a use for that, but for me live, that bad boy is always off, pretty much. Then you've got the first octave below. That's your classic OC2 octave. Then we've got our clean signal. And then we've got our octave above the clean signal. There's actually a classic switch, which I'm on now, which gives you the more classic algorithm. It sounds a similar sound to the OC2s and all those things. It's a very immediate, almost synth-like sound that you get out of that. But the thing with it is that it doesn't track chords very well. So there's a different algorithm. I mean, obviously I don't understand what's happening on it on a technical level, but I know it sounds the same as POG2, as the POGs and all those kind of octave pedals. If you flick it up, basically it can track chords so always warm up before doing videos for YouTube. So it is good in theory, but for me the sound is too soft, the attack is too soft, that whenever I use it live I can barely really hear it. For me, the one that I just leave it on is the classic setting, and the fact that it doesn't track chords too well isn't really that big a deal when you're a bass player. But even if you're a bass player who plays a lot of chords like I do in the right setting, I love playing chords, I don't mind that the classic algorithm, whatever it is, doesn't track those very well. Especially when the way I use it is I usually have the octave pedal blended with my clean signal. And so to me, it's almost a cool sound. It's almost like a ring modulator kind of sound. I'll show you. I might grab my other bass, just a second. This is the polyphonic sound, you know, with a bass that has a lot more mid-range. So you might be able to see the effect a bit more clearly, or hear the effect a bit more clearly. We're going to go I'm just using the upper octave, and you'll hear what I mean. So it handles all that stuff a bit better. You're almost getting a little bit kind of guitar-y. But let's be honest, it's a pretty brittle tone. I actually prefer the classic sound, you know, and the fact it tracks certain intervals pretty well, like fifths, and I think it's Yeah, see? So for some reason it tracks major thirds and fifths pretty well. I mean, not tracks, I'm talking about playing them in harmony. Like, it can reproduce chords of fifths and major thirds pretty well. But when you play other intervals like minor thirds, hear that? It's almost like a ring modulator. Same with minor sevenths. But the thing is, I love that. Especially if I do my usual thing and blend it with, you know, I turn up that clean knob, and now you've got... I actually love that sound. Cool, so let's go back through that bass line I had going before. And we'll just build up some sounds. This is a personal favorite of mine. So turn up the bottom octave that we're going to use. I'm not going to touch that sub octave, it's too low for bass. And then we add the top octave with no clean signal. And I just love that sound. I love it. I'll show you. It actually works really well for kind of dillery, kind of like... that sort of stuff. We'll go back to our bass line. Obviously, to build an OC2 kind of octave effect, we need to put in our clean signal. Oops, sorry, the drums are on again. We have to put our clean signal in over the top of the bottom octave. The, you know, the octave one octave below the clean signal. So... And then if you really want to go to town, you can use the top octave as well. To me, they're the really most useful sounds on the sub and up. What you'll find, and this is something I wanted to show, this is why I had a few basses to show you on. The more sort of mid-range presence you have in your bass tone, the more that top octave seems to cut. So let's go back to the setting where I have clean signal and top octave. And we'll put them both in the middle. If I go bridge pickup on this bass, which is quite mid-range happy, check out how clear that top octave is. Hear those notes just freaking out because I've got it in the classic setting. If I do that same thing in the polyphonic, tracks quite well. But because I've got a crazy taste, I actually like the freakouts. And I mean, yeah. It's a great pedal. But if I go now and play the same thing with like a vintage bass, see how that top octave is not cutting very well. Now that's got nothing to do with the pedal. It's just a phenomenon of this type of effect. So it's just something you need to be aware of. If I go full bridge pickup, it does improve it quite a bit. But so when I pick up this bass and I use this pedal, I'm going to go for something totally different. I'm going to go, just because I know what sings through this pedal with this bass, I'd go probably neck pickup more than the bridge, and I'd go a classic OC2 setting. So that's the clean signal up and the first, the lower octave closest to the dry signal. And I'd crank that. That's how I would use it with this bass. So... Anyway, that's the vibe. I hope you dig it. That's the TC Electronic sub and up pedal and a few awesome settings for bass. Peace.